Welcome, investors, to Global One Media Stocks to Watch. We're spotlighting uranium today with a company that has a rich exploration program powered by multiple projects. I'm your host, Michelle Martin, and today we are spotlighting Purepoint Uranium Group, a uranium exploration company with a pipeline of 9 advanced uranium exploration projects in Canada's Athabasca Basin. Have I got that right, Chris?
You did get that correct. Thank you.
Where, fun fact, 2 of the largest high-grade uranium deposits on Earth are found. Today, we ask, how are Purepoint's assets different? And what is this company's long-term game plan? Time to speak with Chris Frostad, President and CEO of Purepoint Uranium Group. Chris, welcome, and thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you, Michelle. It's good to be here today.
So I understand that Purepoint has recently engaged in strategic developments with 3 major mining companies. What sort of capabilities do these companies bring to the table? And can you share a little bit more about the partnerships and how they align with your strategic long-term goals?
Sure. It's we have partnerships with 3 major mining companies right now, and it's very different. There's a lot of various partnerships that will occur amongst exploration companies or development companies. But when an exploration company is partnering with a mining company, they're always thinking in terms of what happens if we have to mine this thing, even though it's an exploration property. So the discussions and negotiations and agreements and the things that need to be put in place are far more complicated, because we're predicting all the various permutations and combinations of things that could happen in the future should we actually find anything. We have 2 uranium partnerships right now with Cameco and Orano, 2 of the largest uranium producers in the world, and both those projects are we own 21% of, 27% in the other one, and so they're funded primarily by the majors. And we'll be back there in January. We just completed our technical committee meetings with those 2 companies and provided our proposals for the work we want to do starting in January. We got our budget and our marching orders, and we're going to be back out there drilling in January, as I said. So that's the exciting part of what we do is actually starting to poke holes in the ground and see what's down there. The other announcement that we made last week was a relationship we now have with Foran Mining. Right. And this is a project that's a little bit out of our uranium bucket, but when things were slow in the uranium market a few years back, is when we were able to pick up a number of uranium projects. But we also picked up a project kind of to the southeast in Saskatchewan, a lot of property there. And as we did a little bit of work on it to see what we'd picked up, it started to look more and more promising. And in fact, it neighbors Foran's large mining project right now. They have a VHMS project that during the tenure of our holding and looking at this property, they're developing it into a full-blown mine, and probably one of the largest projects of its kind in this part of Canada. And then they've been exploring right up to our property, and the trend seems to continue right across it. So it's not uranium, but it's an exciting project, and they're now optioning and earning in on that project. They'll be spending $6 million to earn a majority ownership on it. And if things go really well and their mine extends into that property, it could be worth another $10 million to us up front, or a 20% partnership in getting that mine going. So it's an exciting project as well, although it is not uranium nonetheless. We are in the business of finding things, so we keep looking.
You mentioned it's not uranium 3 times. So what are the expected outcomes of this collaboration, Chris?
Well, it's actually, like I say, VHMS, it's a volcanic hosted massive sulfide project, which is typically copper and zinc. Saskatchewan has quite an abundance of resources: oil, diamonds, gold, copper, zinc, and a lot of uranium and lithium and potash. It has got a lot of things going on here. So this particular project, as I mentioned, was just something we caught eye of when the things were quiet, and we were able to find a partner to move it forward. So it'll be fully their resources working the property and working the project and advancing doing it in alignment with the mine that they're developing. While we focus on uranium, the thing we like the best.
You recently received approval for an exploration program for the Hook Lake project. Congratulations. Tell us about the primary goals for your winter drilling program and how the findings from your previous uranium intercepts, how will history guide this exploration?
Well, yeah, Hook Lake is one of the projects that we partner with Cameco and Orano, and it is next door and adjacent to probably two of the largest uranium finds in the last 10 years. There's about 350 million pounds of uranium just sitting off of our claim line. So our partners and ourselves have been working that area quite extensively over the last number of years. And even more recently, there's been other discoveries in the area. So that whole part of Saskatchewan, which is on the other side of the province from where all the current mines are, is really now opening up as a major source of uranium finds. We last winter we started working on a parallel target area, and we had our first drill program out there. We drilled 7 holes, and near our last hole, we started to come into a lot of the uranium, the boron, the alteration, and all the good things that we like to see when we're getting close to something. So that was right at the end of that program. We will be following up on that starting in January and get the drills turning and see where that one takes us. It's a large area. It's untested, and it's probably one of the last opportunities for a tier 1 project in the basin. Our partners really can't free up budget for something that it doesn't look like it can be a monster. So our hopes are high there.
A lot of expectation. Talk to me about technology. So I understand you have a scheduled exploration program, the Smart Lake JV project, Purepoint demonstrating a real commitment to innovation and particularly when it comes to exploration techniques. Talk to us about your drilling program and how your transient electromagnetic surveys at the Groomes Lake conductor, how will this contribute to, your ability to explore the Smart Lake project?
Exactly. Well, Smart Lake is another project that we partner with Cameco. It is a project that we were last drilling about 12 years ago, and then everything lit up next door at the Hook Lake project. So we were distracted, but we did start to drill into uranium right off the bat there, and we're going back and doing some geophysics. So one of the aspects of looking for uranium and where the technology comes in is honing in on the right targets to drill. If you're prospecting with a drill, you'll run out of money pretty quick. So we do a lot. There's usually a lot of surface sampling, a lot of geophysical surveys of various types that help us narrow down where it is we really want to focus our drilling efforts. And this is a deep sensing geophysical survey that we'll be doing on the north part of the property, which is the next area that we really want to start testing with a drill. So we'll be covering that area probably late Q1, and that will really refine the targets for our drilling program that will follow up shortly thereafter.
What do you say to potential investors listening in? They might be sitting on the fence, wondering about the potential that Purepoint Uranium Group offers. What do you say to them?
Well, it's as exploration companies go. I mean, it is if you're watching the graphs and watching what's going on, we're all sort of riding that same curve. It's hard to value exploration property because you haven't proven that there's anything actually there yet. And so it's hard for investors to differentiate between them all. But because of our relationships, because of the way we've approached our communications and the work we do, I think you find that we pretty much are riding that average in terms of share price and share price movement, and particularly in relationship to the price of uranium, which has been skyrocketing lately. I think what it comes down to, if you're going to really break away from that curve, is you have to make a proper discovery. which means you have to be able to demonstrate that the odds are with you, to maximizing those odds to make that next discovery. And I think we do that by making sure that we have a full pipeline of projects. It's not one Hail Mary over the fence. We have opportunities right across the basin, and now with the markets coming back the way they are in the uranium space, we all have the capital to get out there and work it. And I've got to say that for all the money that is going into exploration over the next year or two, there's undoubtedly going to be a find or two produced out of all that work. And I like to think that we're on top of the odds on that one.
Chris, final question for you. We've seen prices for uranium soaring past $80 per pound this year. What are your expectations for the price of uranium moving forward?
Well, there's a lot of characteristics to come into play when we're looking at the price of uranium. Uranium has to get up to that $80 mark and stay there for a while before we can start opening up any new mines or reestablishing mines that were shut down during the downturn. The thing about uranium prices, a couple of things. One is that it's price inelastic, and that is it's a small component of creating nuclear power. 5 to 10%, unlike most other commodities, coal or gas, where most of the cost is in the fuel, which means that once you start up a reactor, you're not going to shut it off, and you better know where that fuel's coming from. And so whether the price is $80 a pound or $160 a pound, it will still get purchased. The high price does not slow down the purchasing of the commodity. The other thing that's happening newly in the last few years is really the division in terms of politics. And that is to say, most of the countries that utilize uranium fuel don't actually have uranium fuel. They buy it from the countries that do. So Australia, Canada, Niger, these are countries that are, and Kazakhstan are rich in uranium, but the countries that are using it are China, the United States, and France. So, and with the sanctions, with the wars that are happening currently, with a number of the political divides, it's becoming more and more difficult to secure that uranium. So it's not a free-flowing trade like it might have been 10 years ago, and that's causing the price to go up. So I think we've got a lot of pressure on the price of uranium going up. We definitely have a supply gap right now. We're running into a shortage. And I think the price, there's really no lid on how high it can go, to be honest. It's really a matter of supply not keeping up with demand. And so I think, although $80-90 a pound is a proper price for this stuff, we may see what we saw 10-15 years ago, and when it hit $120-140 a pound.
Really interesting. Well, thank you so much for this look at Purepoint Uranium Group. They trade, by the way, investors on the Toronto Exchange under the ticker PTU, over the counter in the US as PTUUF. Chris Frostad, President and CEO of Purepoint Uranium Group. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you, Michelle.